Welcome to the Doom is Dead podcast, a show all about how dead Doom is. I'm your host, HumanBones, and I'll be your guide as we make our way through the graveyard of this once great game that absolutely nobody enjoys today. Our guest on this episode is none other than TheMotherload, the leader of the In the Keep community. Recorded live at Quakecon 2019, TheMotherload joins Dew and myself as we delve deep into the joys, struggles, excitement, trials, and tribulations that come with running an online gaming community. The Doom is Dead podcast is sponsored by In the Keep and the Drowned God Cathala. All right, here we are. I guess we could call this a co-production of, the Doom is Dead podcast and In the Keep. I am HumanBones. We're here live at Quakecon.
I'm Dew, and I flew here from Europe.
You flew from Europe. And we're here with Motherload.
What's up? I'm the Motherload. What country are you from again? I didn't ask.
Czech Republic.
Oh, okay. Did we talk recently? No, you have a fellow Czech guy. It's not Czech Republic though. It's Czechia now.
Yeah,
right?
it's you. That's the short term for it.
Okay.
We can use both.
Who was it? Who was I talking to? He hangs out in Z-Damon a lot from the Czech Republic. God damn it!
ASX.
No. Apparently there's three.
No, not him.
No.
Capodesm.
No, I'm gonna sound like an asshole. I'll think of it before the end of the show. But here's the microphone back.
Yeah, no, we had, you were nice enough to have me on your podcast a couple of months ago, and since then, I've been talking about returning the favor. I think it's really cool. We've gotten a chance to know each other a little bit and kind of connect our communities. I think for a while, Doom and Quake were very separate, and so now they're starting to meld together. And I think in order to keep games that are 25, 30 years alive, you have to have a community full of people that are, in the same mindset, that are kind of working together, and, all the drama of the past, you can't really hold on to that stuff. So it's cool to see sort of the direction that we are heading into.
So I would like to ask, because for me, this merger that's happening, is kind of like I wasn't part of it. So how did you get into Doom? Was that Bones who came up to you, or was that your curiosity?
Okay, so I'll actually tell the story of how I first played Doom. I was on my honeymoon, and my wife and I were in Colorado. We had a hotel booked for a week. We were gonna spend the day in the mountains and everything. We stayed one night in Greeley, and then we were going to Denver. And she, as we were loading up our luggage to go to Denver, tripped on the curb and broke her foot. And I had to take her to the hospital. But we still had a long time before we had to be where we were going. This is our honeymoon. We're going to enjoy it. So we get to Denver after she'd been to the hospital. She broke her foot. It was bad. She couldn't walk for a few days. And, there's plenty of things in Denver for someone who's laid up in a bed to enjoy. But I could not enjoy that. So I decided to spend time with her, but I wanted to play Doom, and I saw that this is Doom 2016 had just come out, and I wanted to play that. But the hotel's internet sucked bad. I couldn't download anything. But then when I bought it, I bought 2016 on Steam. I got this message, and it was like, "Oh, you can get Doom for $5 and Doom 2 and this whole package for $15." And I was like, fuck it, I'll buy that. And the files are so small, I just downloaded them right then and there. And I couldn't get the other one to download in time. So I just played through Doom 1 and 2, and Final Doom and Master Levels of Doom 2 all in, a week while I was just hanging out with my wife who was crippled. and I enjoyed it so much, and it just really left a mark in my head. And by the time I got to Tucson, where I now live, I ended up playing Doom 2016 as well. And I always enjoyed the single player from that point on, which is, if you think about it in years, that's 3 years ago. So I'm pretty new to the whole experience, but I never played multiplayer Doom at all. I had no experience whatsoever until I talked to Bones on our podcast. And at that point, like having heard everything that was going on, like this is still an active community and it's worth getting into, I really got curious about it. And I got Z-Daemon, which came on later, and before that Zandronum, which Nationwide Moose of the United States Quake community helped me set it up and everything, because it is a pain in the ass. I like a lot of the things that you can do with Zandronum, but I don't like the user interface as much as I like, say, a Z-Daemon. And he sort of like slowly introduced me, like you can play survival, you can play co-op and all that sort of thing. And on Zandronum, another guy that works with the Keep, who is really a founding member of the Keep, Spaced, he started setting up these really cool co-op servers, and we were playing like Brutal Doom and shit like that. And I got really into that. Like I started doing it every day. I was like, oh, this is kind of all I want to do. The competitive side, I don't care for. To be completely honest, just in my short experience with it, compared to Quake, I don't really want to play classic Doom deathmatch. That's just my personal opinion. So I will be honest about that. But I do respect it as an art form, and if I were spectating it, I enjoy it every time.
Right,
but
it's like more simplified version of Quake. So if you're already into Quake, maybe going back,
it can be hard.
One dimension basically.
to go from rocket jumping and mouse aiming and like just shooting off walls and all that kind of shit to back to Doom, which is basically just flat in deathmatch. It is frustrating for me personally, but overall, I just fell in love with the fact that Doom is so customizable and you can do anything you want with it. And that's not true even for Quake World. Even though you can program a lot of shit into it, you'll never have the freedom that you have with the Doom engine, and it's magical to me.
Right, yeah. And there's endless content to just go through in the survival modes and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a fun for a long time.
Yeah, so how long has In the Keep been in existence? I only really found out about it. I think Nationwide Moose started showing up in the Otomex Discord and the Z-Daemon Discord. And through him, he was advertising his server, which is the US Quake community. And I noticed that they started to join, some of the people from there started to join our server. And so I said, well, you know what, let me go check this out, because I actually started playing Quake before I played Doom. I would sit, when I was 5 or 6, I would sit like on my dad's lap, and we'd dial up through AOL and we'd play Quake 2 online. So Quake to me is just on the same level as Doom. So I said, maybe I should go check this out. And then we got to talking, and I found your community. So I was just curious, how long have you been around in the Quake community, and how did you sort of start this this Discord group? I don't know if you do anything else outside the Discord community or not.
So the Keep really, I guess, took off in, was it 2019 now? Maybe a year ago is when we like really got serious about the Discord. Like I had always played pickup games, and that was kind of our thing at first. Is like we just want to have a place that we can all meet up and play Quake Champions. At the time, is we were all really into that. And a lot of good people like I Kill Pigeons, who's also previously on the show, Star Centurion, Princess Fuzzy. I hope she's still around. I haven't heard from her in a while. And Spaced, and later on like Smango of QuakeFans.net, he actually got tired of running his own Discord and kind of like let us absorb it. So I guess we'll call it a year ago, we really got serious about like, let's design like the ultimate Discord for people who enjoyed this type of game. I don't know if you've noticed how it's set up. I have it set into categories so that people, will be able to block whatever they don't want to hear. They can mute it. If you don't like Dusk, you don't have to hear from the Dusk people, who are the most active people in the community, like by far. But if you want to hear about Doom, you can. Or the other option is you don't mute it, and you feel free to kind of like just go to the main channel where everybody chats and get exposed to games that you may enjoy. So if you come from the Doom community, my intention was that, yeah, we can talk about Doom all day. Perhaps you will enjoy Dusk, because as far as I understand it right now, the plan with Dusk is you'll be mapping in Trench Broom and doing basically all the same customizable things that you could do with Doom. And I know a lot of people log into it now and don't see that, but that is the underlying plan as set by New Blood. So I just figure, like, if you like Doom, you'll probably like Dusk. And if you like Quake, obviously you have a reason to at least enjoy the idea of Doom. If you anything, Master Arena is another one. Like Unreal Tournament players, a lot of them are really frustrated kind of with the way that Epic has treated Unreal Tournament because they abandoned it for Fortnite essentially, which I hate. But they need to know, in my opinion, they should know, like, hey, Jerem is working really hard on this game that is in the Unreal Engine. It is amazing. It's like so crisp and pristine. They've been working on it for years and years and years. And Master Arena just inspired me. Like, these people need to know that there is a game for them. So I try to promote games like that. I did the same thing with Open Arena. A lot of people come from Quake 3 and they're frustrated because, in my opinion, right now, the Quake 3 community is really sort of broken up, which is a shame because I got into Quake 3 first when I was in high school. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but later on, I really developed a love for that game. But Open Arena for Quake Live players or Quake 3 players is essentially a carbon copy of Quake 3 or IO Quake 3 that you can enjoy without all the bullshit. And they've programmed in through mods like Rat Mod and Aftershock. They made it accessible such that the D-lag is so good, like comparable easily with Z-Daemon, that you might log into a server and you could be from Pakistan. I've seen this happen, and play with someone in North America and have the ping difference is astounding, but it feels the same. And I don't understand why anybody would not want to be able to experience that. So I guess the goal of the Keep and the reason why it started was just my attempt to kind of bring communities into one house instead of having segmented. I don't want to call everybody toxic, but don't talk about that here. Well, this is a Doom server, so we don't talk about Quake here. We don't talk, like that kind of bullshit. I don't dig that. So that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of similar to what we're doing with our server. I mean, it's obviously it's the multiplayer Doom Federation, but it's still trying to connect all of these fragmented groups of people that have maybe otherwise been disenchanted with the toxic people, as you say, in the community.
The community overall was fragmented. They barely talk to each other. They both completely ignore that something like multiplayer exists. So we've been there as well, like this fragmentation. Then obviously there was also the 3 multiplayer ports that didn't talk, and the communities got pretty much gated over the time. So MDF is really trying to break these walls down as well. And I guess so far, yeah, we've been pretty successful in bringing people together and maybe even keeping the trash out. How would you say your effort is going? Do you see growth?
Yeah. So, and as far as Doom goes, exponential growth. I think that right now, above, and I hate to say this because Quake is kind of my main focus, but Doom has kind of consumed me lately. This is going to be the 3rd Doom oriented podcast in a row, but I don't mean to say I hate to say it. It's a great thing. Doom is experiencing some sort of a renaissance right now. I think that's from the efforts of you guys, and also definitely Nationwide Moose really bridging the gap, because it's the US Quake community is what he does, but it's so Doom heavy at this point. And I like that. I think it's a neutral ground. Flambeau said that many times. The neutral ground for Doom can just be the Quake community. If you'll never see in the Keep or in the USQC, you're not going to see differential categories between this is for Odomex players and this is for Z-Daemon players and this is for whatever the fuck. It's just classic Doom, or for them it's some kind of weird reference to some god I don't understand, because Cathala is the only god. And I think that's important. I think it's really important to not show that, because you'll see in Quake, like Quake categories, you'll see like Quake 1, Quake 2, Quake 3, Quake 4, Quake Live. Quake 4 is kind of an afterthought now, but and then Quake Champions. But all of those people, for the most part, get along. In Doom, if you start segmenting people like that, if you say like, oh, this is just for Odomex players, like, oh, well, fuck you, man. Like, why separate it like that? So that's always been in my opinion. Like, there shouldn't be a dividing line, because at the end of the day, we're all just playing Doom 2 or Doom or whatever the fuck. At the end of the day, like we're all trying to accomplish the same goal. Each of the different clients is trying to essentially accomplish the same thing. They just do it in different ways, and that doesn't mean that we can't enjoy it. And I think you in particular have done an excellent job of hosting tournaments on different clients and it not causing any kind of problem within the community. And I think that's great.
We have suffered through 15 years of back and forth with the 3 main Doom ports and all the disagreements that come with that. There's the multiplayer community, at least the multiplayer CTF, because that's really the only community that used to matter in a lot of people's eyes, were the people who played CTF. And they were from all different backgrounds, and so I think there was a really huge divide between them, where a lot of them preferred Z-Daemon and a lot of them preferred Zandronum or Skulltag, and so you could never get everyone on the same page, and it was just constant back and forth. And things were a lot more populated 10 years ago, so I think the level of drama and just negativity was a lot higher. And so trying to get them to play, like, for example, when the International Doom League decided it would move to Odomex, that they probably lost 30% of their player base just in that move alone. And then in the subsequent years, you kind of had to rebuild that, because people were so dead set against using anything that is not their favorite thing. It didn't matter if you were running the greatest tournament in the world. It just didn't matter. This isn't what I want to play, so I'm not going to play it. And I think we reached I did anyway. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who reached this point, but I reached a point like a year ago where I said, I'm just done. Like, I'm either going to walk away from this and just, go and have a fucking life somewhere, or I'm going to change the way that we've been doing it ever since, because it's just too negative, and this is supposed to be a fun game. Like, yeah, I'll compete and I'll try to win, but it's like I shouldn't have to. Nobody should have to go to sleep hating themselves because they fucking get on the computer and somebody harasses them about a game. So I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels that way, or I'm sure I'm not the first person that felt that way. But I decided that I was going to do something about it. And luckily, I think I found a lot of people that share the same. Share the same mindset. And I just don't see how doing things the way that we were doing them is going to get us moving forward, past like 5 more years. Like, I don't see how we could continue to play this game with all these people that just hate each other for much longer. I mean, you reach a point, right, in your life where, maybe when you hit 30 or something, where you're like, I'm just done with this. Like, why am I wasting my energy on this? And as the clock continues to push me towards that age, I'm like, I just don't need this shit. So that was just my, right. That was just my everyday, I don't know.
The other point why we really have to focus on bringing everyone together is that actually, the number of players, the total number is dwindling. Like, there's no way around it. Like, as you said, now we get some sort of renaissance, and maybe we can pat ourselves on the shoulder about that, but that's just in the eye of the beholder. But yeah, overall,
I'll take credit for it.
Yeah, he took credit. So 10 years ago, the numbers were huge. Like, around the clock, you would see servers jam-packed full of people. Like, there would always be 3 FFA servers running on the most popular worlds. There would always be public CTF servers filled to the point where, like, a group of people just moved to another server so they could also play. And that really dropped down steeply some 5 years ago, I guess, there was this death of IDL, and death of the deathmatch leagues, like things just went into like to nowhere, and then there was a long radio silence, and people just start vanishing. So now that we basically had to restart everything from scratch, there's not enough players to go around in Zendronum or in the Demon to feed tournaments every week, basically. So yeah, we had to basically fold all of these communities together. At least we're trying, because otherwise we wouldn't have the numbers to even run this entire deal. And yeah, actually, I want to ask you: is there something similar going with Quake, or are the numbers still really strong?
Okay, I think Quake overall had a big kind of return because of Quake Champions. Essentially, like, you know, it's still not as marketed as a lot of people wish it were, but Quake Champions did put a lot of eyes on the brand of Quake, and then, you know, and people talked a lot about how, well, this isn't really Quake, this is, you know, the Champions and all that. Whatever opinion you have about that, I don't really care. Point being, a lot of people were like, okay, well, I don't really necessarily love this, but I do like the idea of what you're talking about. Can I try Quake World? Then they end up playing Quake World and Quake 2 and Quake Live and all of them. And people kind of like segmented into those little communities. I myself am a hugely guilty party of, like, I kind of shut the I shut the door on Quake Champions a little bit. Like, I still love it for what it is, but I don't enjoy, like, when I play it, I don't have a great fucking time, and it doesn't feel like ecstasy to me anymore. Whereas when I play Quick World, I do feel that way. I think there's still a lot of work to be done. Quake World, honestly, I think Quake World is easier to get it's easier to get more people in a room because there's only one really viable client for it. Like, there's only, like, we're all going to meet up on, you know, this the USQC server or whatever the fuck, in the same Easy Quake client. Whereas Doom has the challenge of, like, well, it's people. Some people are playing Otomex, some people are playing Zandronum, some people are playing Z-Daemon, and you kind of have to, like, do a little extra work. But I'd say there are more people playing Doom probably than are playing Quake World. It's just an organizational problem. With that said, we are witnessing as we speak. I think it isn't on yet because they're still doing the Quake tournament. But a lot of people had a lot of comments to say about the fact that Quakecon is using Otomex as opposed to, you know, the other clients, and I was curious if you guys had an idea of, like, why that is. I know it's like, I just keep getting hints that it's really controversial and no one wants to talk about it, but I want an answer because, just out of my own curiosity. I don't want to start shit. I'm just like, what is it? Like, why is that the case?
I can start it with that because I'm like a neutral party here. I came to Doom through the Demon, but I was never part of that historical drama that basically
That I was.
Bones eventually was part of that. Basically, it led to a thing where the North American competitive scene, I would say, was basically exiled from the Demon and created their own port, which is Otomex. So historically, Otomex has been like this rebel group that was freeing Doom from the tyrants of the Demon and from the casuals of Skulltag. So it was kind of like marketed towards the competitive scene, and that meant, like, there was a really high threshold to ever go, and have any interest in Otomex. Like, why would you go play Otomex when it so heavily caters to just the elites, just the elite duelists, and no one else even plays it? Like, the servers were always kind of like empty. You can go and find someone to play a casual game, and then the other communities saw Odemax as something like they aren't really interested in. Like, they can't go play survival in there because that's not even supported. I think the co-op is still kind of iffy. And there were also, like, for a long time, there were technical issues, like bugs and some certain stuff was not really working correctly, I guess. For a long, like, I actually saw that like 10 years ago they finally implemented the slopes. That's probably something.
It was less than 10 years ago. It was in 2012.
2012. Okay, so Odemax always played catch up with the other ports that were already far more developed and had maybe less ambitions when it comes to, writing everything from the ground, because famously the Demon and Zendronum use the build code for slopes, while Odemax wrote it from scratch. So yeah, they're playing catch up, and that means that a lot of people who are already used to the Demon or Zendronum are like, yeah, but why should I move there? I'm happy here. And when Odemax was picked up, some saw it as just lobbying from certain parties. And I don't think so, because it's an elite tournament, so why not use the elite port, so to say. But yeah, a lot of people saw that as kind of like meddling from someone who whispered in the correct ears.
Yeah, I mean, I think, too, a lot of stuff lingers from the past with Z-Daemon. Odemax was created, I think, purely out of political reasons. I think they might maybe dispute that fact now and say that they're trying to create a port that's more vanilla Doom. It's more true to the essence of Doom, because Z-Daemon famously closed its source, and that started a really big thing, and it might still linger with a lot of people today, but that started a really big thing with the group of people that then split off and created Odemax. So there's just been this huge political divide for the last 15 years, and I think, like I said, I think there's still a lot of that lingers in maybe people that are setting up these tournaments here that they're not in the everyday conversations with people, where it's like, a lot of this stuff has really dissipated over the years. There's really not a lot of animosity towards Z-Daemon anymore, or there's really not that much animosity amongst any of the ports anymore. So, I mean, really, I don't know why they chose Odemax. It could have been someone's preference. It could have just been, oh, we used it last time. Let's use it again. But I mean, I think either any of the three ports could have been a viable option. I just think they should have probably consulted with people who play multiplayer Doom a little bit more often. Maybe they wouldn't have chosen Odemax. I don't know.
I would say the problem isn't actually in Odemax. I would have more issues with the map picks.
Oh, yeah. I'm not looking forward to the maps in the tournament. I mean, I think, well, you want to talk about the maps in the FFA tournament, because one of the maps says in the text file not to use it, right?
Yeah, it's Brit 10 map 6, Brit 11 map 6. That's literally 2 square rooms connected via a door. Well, it's an archway. It's not exactly the door, and it's tiny. They're played in 8 players. I think the tournament is 8 players per round. I think so. And that particular map is a joke. It's a credit room for that for that map set. It just has like pictures of the other maps on the walls, and it's never been supposed to be played seriously. It's just kind of been in rotation when Brit 11 was really popular in FFA servers like 10 years ago. So maybe someone remembers that time, and that's why they chose it. but I would never choose that map for anything competitive because it's just a joke.
Well, and not to do any more self-promotion or anything, but the one tournament that we really have perfected is the FFA tournament. And we go through, and I will go through like 15 to 20 WODs, every time we run a tournament. And I pick out maps, and I have people vote on them. But it's like, even when you give people 15 maps and have them choose 6, they can vote on the maps, and they still complain about them. So it's like, I don't know. They could have done... I would have liked to have been consulted regarding the FFA maps. I don't think you can just pick any map and throw it out there. You have to be very selective about what you pick. And then even if you're playing with 8 people, I mean, what are you gonna play? You're gonna play like CD, CTF, MP3 cast-off maps that like huge maps that fit like 400 people in them. I don't know, because most of the FFA DM maps that you play can't really fit 8 people comfortably to the point where you can even say that skill was involved in someone winning, So there's all these little things that are kind of interesting. Different than the way that, we would do them, I guess.
So I have a 4-pronged train of thought going on. I'm going to try to take it in order. And hopefully by the end of it, I remember each point that I'm going to make. First of all, the other Czech guy's name's Duck. Yeah,
I know that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Really, really nice guy. He sounds like he's British though when he speaks English.
Oh, I've never spoken to him, and if I did, I would probably speak Czech, so I wouldn't know. I guess so.
Yeah, he's explicitly like, I was like, okay, so you're from the UK, and he's like, oh no, not exactly. So I don't know, Australia? No. Okay, where are you from? You've never heard of it? I'm like, yes, I have. Come on, go ahead. And he's like, it used to be called Czechoslovakia. I'm like, okay, so you're from the Czech Republic? Well, not necessarily. I'm like, all right, get over it, man. But
and
yeah,
I know that he's for a long time he ran the Thursday night survival events on as a demon.
Super fun. I love this.
That's something I always admired, like that event. It runs for I think 6 years now. Really long time.
Not as long as EDS.
And yeah, he's been part of the moderation team that's been picking map sets and actually like preparing small additional WODs of doing fun stuff when you complete it for the first time, and then have another run and you just add weird monsters to the map set, or like have double damage, or just increasingly make it more difficult for the guys that linger around for the 3rd or 4th rotation. So yeah, that's him.
Okay, point 2 of the fork. You guys mentioned how perhaps Otomex was chosen as it is, the elite, quote unquote, client. I think we see the exact same thing in Quake Champions, and that the game is sort of meant for the elite top tier players, and then the lower tier, the middle tier, as I would call myself, probably feel left out, because then the updates don't really address the issues that we face. I had a really good talk with Saigev about that, and he plays. The big topic was CTF at the time, and Quake Champion CTF to me kind of fucking sucks. That's just how I feel about it. Like, personally, when I play it, I really don't have a good time. But to him, as a pro player, it's just he thinks on a different wavelength than the rest of us, and he just figures out how to do it and do it well. And that's the things that we think are problems with it, like this character runs too fast and we can't catch her. If you shoot her in the back with a rail, it's like she just zooms away even faster. Like I don't like that. To them, that's like an afterthought. Like, whatever, I'm gonna win. I just have to win. I don't know. I can't get in the head of someone who like is that elite of a player. But that leaves the rest of the community feeling unaddressed, as you kind of mentioned with Otomex. A big thought that I did have about it is, as I mentioned earlier, I think before we actually started recording, how oftentimes the way that the Doom clients will have their spectator mode set up, it can really be shit from someone who streams in particular, if like I want to do a Doom tournament, I'm going to pick Z-Damon simply because of the fact that I have figured out exquisitely how to stream it in such a way that the spectator has the best experience. Also because it's like a little more like, it feels like classic Doom to me, as opposed to Zandronum, which has like the shittiest spectator mode that I can possibly fucking think of. And then Otimex probably just works. Like if they're coding it from scratch, like I have to assume if they're showing it on the Quakecon official stream, it's got to look good.
Yeah,
that could be an easy factor.
It's sufficient for this.
Yeah, no, I had a thought. I think because when you're spectating and you're trying to figure out what to say to make it interesting to people, you have to know, like, part of the strategy is seeing someone's health and seeing their armor or their ammo, and okay, well, now I can kind of see why he's doing this or why he's not doing this. It just makes it a lot more interesting. I think part of the reason why that doesn't happen on the other ports is because people were abusing that, and so they would sit like, in team games or whatever, someone would say, oh, so and so only has 5 health. I've never heard that happen, but I know that it's been mentioned that it's a thing.
It's actually, it's been, it was in Skulltag and Zandronum, and the information was removed from clients, from spectators, exactly because there were like worries that it would be abused. What I think, it's actually even been mentioned that there should be like a privileged spectator mode that actually has this sort of information. And I think maybe Jhar was actually asking for it if we have something like that, because this has been definitely discussed in the past, and it never like materialized into anything meaningful.
So a quick note about exactly that is that one thing that Open Arena did for me that I love covering their tournaments, because it was as simple as like, oh, by the way, Motherload, here's the referee key so you can see everything. And you also, like, on top of the stream, like, I have the POV of the player I'm looking at. There's a smaller screen with the POV of the opposing player. So it makes casting a breeze. It's so simple and easy to do. And for someone like Jhar to, like, put in the effort to cover a Doom tournament, like, the more you provide to him, the more willing he's going to be to do that, I would assume. I'd love to get in his head about it. I don't know if that's going to happen this weekend or ever, but it should. Definitely, Jhar. I want to talk to you, buddy.
Actually, the one point, the demon also has the picture-in-picture mode for duels, so that's definitely an improvement in spectator comfort. I would just really like to see that this privileged spectator mode that would have like all sorts of extra information, though someone would probably find a way to hack it and abuse it.
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, for lack of finding a better term, I'm sure they'd find some way to ghost that information, if it was available. But no, I mean, I'm sure if we drop a little message into Flambeau's Discord, he'd be in a week we'd get a new version of Z-Damon with it released. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it just adds to the experience as a spectator, as like a normal spectator. I don't think you need it. But for streaming purposes, I mean, if you want to see all that information, you should just watch the stream. But as a normal spectator, I don't know.
It is my complete and thorough opinion that if you want new players to pick up Doom, you need to be streaming it. That's just how young kids find games. If you want them to take any kind of interest in it at all, it needs to be, first and foremost, it needs to be easy for them to access. I mean, I'm talking really easy. I'm talking search bars that work correctly. I'm talking about 100% failure proof. You download the right WAD and you play it immediately, or else they're just going to delete the shit and not play it. And it needs to be accessible through Twitch. I mean, I'm not by no stretch of the imagination. I'm not even close to being a significant streamer. I just do it because I think it's important to expose it. If you want people to take notice of the fact that, like, oh, there's these weekly tournaments going on in the NDF, it needs to be out there. It should be on Twitch. It should be on YouTube. It should be on Twitter, everything, and it's hard to do. I totally get that. I hate Twitter. I hate Twitter. I use the account like to auto post podcasts, and I try my best to just drop something in there every now and again. But the real conversation goes on Discord. That's definitely the best way to communicate between games. However, Discord only applies to your insular community and whatever connected community you have, whereas Twitter, you can, I don't know, hashtag Quakecon or whatever the fuck, and then everybody who uses that handle will then be able to find it. So that's another way to expand and expose whatever it is that you're trying to promote. And that's really important. I think in general that you make it accessible. I can't stress that enough.
I agree. And I think YouTube, for me, was really accessible when we started doing, because the way that I used to do my little podcasts was I would record it on TeamSpeak. I would take the recording and upload it to a website. And then, so, the 30 people in the community can listen to it, but it's not really, it's not really reaching any other audience. At least on YouTube, you can see, we stream our stuff live usually, which, good or bad, I don't know. But you can see how many people are listening to it live. And then, of course, you can see the amount of views that you get. But going beyond YouTube and trying to get, trying to expand to other things almost requires paying someone to do it. You need somebody really dedicated to doing it. I mean, I use Twitter like on a personal basis, but I mean, I don't know that I could sit there and post, my own podcast and stuff to, I don't know, but it's really hard. It's really hard to reach a new audience. But I think that's the one last thing that probably both Doom and Quake communities have to overcome is how to reach, the people that, or the kids that want to play Fortnite, or the kids that are playing Rocket League, or, whatever game is just like download and jump in and play. We have to figure out some way to overcome that before we all get too fucking old,
I think Z-Damon definitely is. It still has a little bit of a barrier of entry, but of the clients that I've tried out, it definitely seems like the easiest to just like plug and play. I mean, you go in, you have basically two things to change right off the bat. You want to turn off head bob so that you don't get the weird, bug with the screen lag. And maybe I discourage people now that I've learned a little bit. Thank you, Domains, for pointing it out to me. But uncapped doesn't matter in Doom. If you want to uncap your frame rate, it only exists for the sake of you being able to say it does, but it actually diminishes, I think, from your experience. I just really feel like there needs to be, and maybe Odomex ends up being that over time. I don't fucking know. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. I think there just has to be a place for kids to be like, I want to play Doom. I want to try it out. I talk a lot about on this podcast about my 16-year-old brother who just played. He just played Brutal Doom on my laptop one time, and now he's obsessed with building a computer. He's like, I just want to play that game. I just want to play that game, and it needs to be so fucking easy for him to do it that it won't matter, or else he's going to forget about it. And every day that goes by that he's not able to do that, I'm like, yeah, he may not pick it up. So I don't know. I feel like I keep ranting about that, but it has to be accessible.
I'm kind of surprised that you're so,
in the know about Z-Damon because they're so they were always so insular. Yeah.
Of all the three ports, like the Zendronum is the big one that has.
Thank Flambeau for that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was going to drop him as his name because for the longest time, Zendronum was the big one. It has the most players because it's the most moddable one, the most accessible one for, I guess, people who know what they are doing. Like, you can run almost anything on it. Like, the Demon is limited in its scope. Like, you can't run Brutal Doom on it. You can run Brutal Doom on Zendronum. You can run multiplayer Brutal Doom on Zendronum. So they have their wide audience of people who just want to mod their WODs to hell and back. Like, all of the weapon modifiers and RPG systems and everything. Everything can be run on Zendronum. And the demon was like, then you had Otamax that was, like trying to present first. It's tried to present itself as the elite port. Then they kind of realized they were going nowhere with that. So they also try to, open themselves up to like, the free port. And the demon was kind of like stuck that they didn't actually advertise that much anywhere. And whenever they did, there would be like a backlash from the rest of the people because there was all the bad blood. But recently, something has changed, and the demon has actually been going around. I've heard a lot more about the demon in the past 6 months than in the previous 6 years, basically.
I think I have the privileged point of view as a complete newcomer to the whole thing, that I get to just try each one and decide what I like with no I don't have any preconceived notion about what each one means or what the past is or anything other than what is told to me. My immediate analysis of Z-Daemon was that they don't release anything until they're perfectly sure it will work. And that does result in, okay, there's these long periods of like we don't get anything. We see it ties into Quake Champions recently with like they used to do an update every month and now they're doing it maybe seasonally. I think that the reason why I'm so excited about Z-Daemon and a lot of people are talking about it again now is because when they do release something, it is good, or at least it works consistently. I do it every time I get in Zandronum and I try to download a new WAD. I get the fucking error where it's like, oh, you need to make sure you have the exact right WAD. It's that joke. The fucking, who is it? Dogsoft. They have that fucking bullshit version, like the April Fool's joke version of fucking Brutal Doom, and it's just like, like I can't deal with this shit, man. Like I don't want to fucking. After an hour of troubleshooting it, I want to just get the fuck out of here. But with Zandronum, it works 100% of the time. Like I've never had that issue.
You mean Z-Demon?
Oh shit, yeah, Z-Demon, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to fuck up the names because they're too damn they're too damn similar. But that's the whole crux of it, is like it just works. Like it works correctly. It works as I expect it to. So therefore, I'm going to use it.
The big change in like its evolution was the Demon 1.09, and that came out, I would say 2011.
Yeah,
and that came out as a beta because they still had to polish a lot of the things that they were introducing, and because of that, they disabled recording demos. And that was like they didn't want to create, this unsupported level of like 1.09 beta that would eventually the demos wouldn't work because they didn't want to support it backwards. But that beta was there for, I would say, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So for 4 or 5 years, there was no way of recording demos on the Demon. And that's kind of like a big deal because at least the competitive scene and like anyone who tries to speedrun anything on the Demon, there's actually such a thing. You wouldn't be able to do it at all. So this is actually one of the reasons why, for example, the competitive community kind of like left the Demon, just trickled out because there would be no way of storing it, and this is long before streaming was a thing. So like that was kind of like the wasteland era.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the accessibility thing, because especially when you talk about your 16-year-old brother who watched you play it and now he really wants to play it. I have 2 20-year-old brothers. They're twins, and they watch me play Doom all the time, but the problem is they're like, oh, I could never play that game. I mean, I could never get to that level of competition really, to the and I could never compete with players like us, and I think that was part of the problem over the last 10 years, to continue to take the community approach. You need to have a community that is welcoming to new players and not just be catered towards the elite players, and that's all. You need to be able to have these tournaments that obviously these newer players know they're probably not going to win the tournament, but at least you have you have an opening round where people of a certain skill can sign up, and if they want to, if they need like a like an entry round or something where they want to play against somebody that's sort of a similar skill to them, they get an opportunity to do that. So I don't know. You're right about the accessibility thing. I think it needs to be easy to use, but it also needs to be, once they get in there, they can't be turned away by the people that are playing.
So there are two solutions to that problem that are tried and true, and both come from the Quake community that I think the Doom community could really benefit from. King of the Hill is one of the greatest ideas that ever fucking existed, because you get paired up. I see you both pointing at each other. You get paired up with someone who is at least, like the closest of the group with you skill level wise. So you get to consistently compete on a skill level that makes sense to you. And even if you lose in the first round, it's probably a close enough match. I've only ever had one King of the Hill I entered where I just got smashed, and that's because fucking Zenaro shouldn't have been in that fucking rank at the time. It is difficult with Doom because you don't actually, as far as...
Probably a different Zenaro from...
No, same guy.
Same guy?
Same guy.
Okay.
Same fucking guy. Yeah, that guy. But, yeah, he played in King of the Hill that State of Quake put on, which I'll get to in a minute. And just raped me right in the ass. Like, for the whole match, I was like, what happened here? How are you a silver 5? And he's just like, oh, I haven't played all my ranked matches. Like, that's it. That's all it really came down to. But he's an amazing... I love using Arrow. But in general, you pair somebody up with a similar skill level and you rock and roll, and it's fun. You guys are smiling at me. It's making me uncomfortable. Now, I'm going to hold the mic because I feel like you're going to say something nasty. Okay.
No, we actually go a long way back with Zenaro. So
okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's also an amazing Quake player, on top of being, from my understanding, pretty prominent in the Doom community. The other solution that I was going to offer, I'll let you talk I'll give you the microphone back. No. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that Zenaro is not very good at Monopoly. That's all. He can't really trade. He's not very good at trading. Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
Okay. The other option I think that could really benefit, and it also kind of relies on something of a rank system. State of Quake puts on the Diamonds in the Rough tournament at least once a month. They do a Diamonds in the Rough duel tournament, which is essentially like no elite players are allowed. If you are, more than a diamond ranked or whatever, I think it's like 19 or some bullshit. Like if you're a really, really good player, you're not allowed to play. Only the really shitty players like me are allowed to enter the tournament. And that also kind of puts a cap on it. It's like, okay, so if you want to win, this is the winner of this tournament is someone who has the capability of becoming, an elite player or something like that. Someone, that could be really, really respected. And that lowers the skill ceiling. But honestly, I think these are more interesting tournaments, especially for me to cast or to spectate, is that lower tier players, they take more risks. They do stupid shit. I do stupid shit all the time when I play. Like they do things that you would never see an elite player do. You're never going to see Rafa just completely ignore item timing and out frag his opponent for 10 minutes, like what happened to me against Zenaro. And you're not going to see that, right? And a few other people that are like just you can see how a person will focus on one particular skill and become excellent at that, but they lack another skill. And you can see it change through the ranks. You can see like you will not become this rank until you have mastered X or Y. And I think that those are advantageous. But to tie that back into Doom, if you could create something like that, I think that it would also fix the problem of people getting in there and just getting their rectum turned into a fucking sleeping bag. And and not having the best time. So that's another part of it that needs to be taken into account.
Ranking system was something that we wanted to have. Like at one point, there was a push to have like an ELO sort of thing, ranking system where people would actually get points for just even random duels. But sadly, that effort kind of didn't go. Like there was even like a beta version of that, but then it kind of crashed out. Not sure. That was Watermelon's idea, right?
Well, I mean, plus the problem with that too is like, do you ever reset the rankings? I mean, or do they just continue, into infinity?
You have to probably
Seasonally.
or kind of like degrade it over time, because otherwise someone would just win their 100 matches and then never touch the game again to sit on the throne. But yeah, we were close at one point, but then it kind of like failed in its efforts, so that's a shame. The other thing is we a long time ago, when we were actually doing IDL and I was running tournaments on the Demon, we actually did intermediate tournaments, and there was even one full season for like the IDLR. I actually played in that. That was my first season in IDL, because IDL was North American, based in North America. So I as a Euro had a disadvantage. So in my first year, I was basically playing in that.
Yeah, because back then there were so many people that were signing up, but it was hard because the private CTF community, the games in the IDL were 3v3. So when you played private CTF, they wanted to make it 3v3, which left out a whole bunch of people because, even if you weren't playing, you wanted to be in the server and you wanted to talk and you wanted to do this and this. So, even though we went from like 12 teams to 8 teams, and there were still a lot of people that were left out. So we had the idea, I don't know whose idea it was, I don't remember, but to create, the IDLR, which is the IDL Reserve League. So that was for the people that did not get drafted onto a team. And so you'd essentially, you'd pick some captains with people who were people that were in the normal IDL, and they were able to be captains and then draft. Thank you. And then they were able to draft, some of these people that didn't get chosen in the regular league, but it gave them a chance to actually play. So that was exciting. But with the lower skilled players also comes less dedication. So it was harder to get the games done. So there's a lot of downsides to it. I mean, I wanted to come out with a dual system a few months ago where it's like, every 6 weeks the ladder resets. So, you might have 3 dual tournaments over the course of 6 weeks, and then that ladder locks into place, and maybe you depending on whether or not you qualify, you can then enter in the giant tournament or something.
I like the Diamonds in the Rough system.
Yeah,
we wouldn't, because the problem with back when I was running the intermediate tournaments, they would run parallel with the full tournament, and like you would have people who would like struggle deciding if they want to run with the pros, with the bad boys, or go into the lower one and actually like maybe progress. So you would find people misplaced in the wrong one, and they would get creamed in round 1 with no frags at all. Well, no, you always get some frags in Doom, but it would be like 50 to 15 or something embarrassing like that.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of running just the intermediate tournament 1 week, and basically have the good guys sit it out. Too bad you don't get to play it this week, because then you wouldn't have these guys who feel like I'm not going to go for the intermediate because I'm good enough to challenge in the higher seeded one, but then they're just going to get crushed.
Another thing that State of Quake does very well is their sacrifice tournaments, which is essentially sort of like Capture the Flag and Quake Champions. But they will have their elite players. Like if we get 4 elite players that sign up or whatever the number happens to be, they will make them team captains. Like you are a team captain, and you're going to be given a group of novice, compared to you players, and then they will, kind of look to you for leadership. But you're not going to have completely unbalanced teams or anything like that. I think that could also really benefit the effort to balance the games. The CTF tournament, man, Ballins, you sucked that day when I watched you guys. I'm just kidding, but your team lost, and I think that speaks volumes. Get over it. They can't hear you. I have control because this is the way we sat. To anyone listening, there are 2 microphones. Oh, who we got? Who's interrupting? It's Violent Heart. Yay! He's wearing his Doom shirt. How appropriate for the podcast we're doing. And X24. When the viewers listen to this, they'll know that Violent Heart's computer exploded into flames, and X24 is now using my computer. That's right. Yeah. Yep.
It's going to be our secret victory by exploding.
Anyway, back to what we were saying. Yeah, to find any way to make Doom feel more competitive to a new player is definitely the best way to get people into it, for sure. There's no other way around it. But we talked about this a little bit earlier with the, like how's the Quake community dealing with the same problems that the two can learn a lot from each other. And I think that's what the USQC is feeding off of right now. That's why they're blowing up so fucking big. They're just monumental, like as far as users, and like every night of the week they have an event. And I think that has to do with the fact that they're like, Nationwide Moose is playing in both. He's playing in the Quake shit and he's playing in the Doom shit, and he's taking everything he learns from Quake and applying that to Doom and vice versa.
It's funny. I've actually been meaning to talk to him because I would love, like, I can't do events every night. But I need to find people. I feel like I want to do events every single night. And it's interesting that you talked about, having like someone of a certain skill, and you say, okay, well, you are going to be a captain, and the people that you choose have to be someone of lesser skill. We actually tried that during, I don't know if you're familiar with the game mode Team Last Man Standing. It's essentially, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whoever eliminates the other team completely wins the round.
Yeah. So, we messed around with that. But one of the things that we decided to do, which was, I think, different for the Doom community, was to say, here are 6 highly skilled people, and you're all going to be captains. And then your second player is going to be, like, let's say you were to have a tiering, or you're going to rank players, your second player would be someone, slightly below you. And then your third player would be someone slightly below them. And so we kind of just made sure that the teams were even enough that it wasn't, 3 devastations teaming up together. And, I think the teams and the captains actually did a really good job of finding people that wouldn't normally play and stuff like that. That was kind of my goal. So we actually got somebody, I teamed up with Do and someone else. But he was not somebody who was like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to join a tournament. I just haven't, because I was like afraid, or, I don't know. So I plucked him out, and I think a couple other captains did the same thing. But you have to do stuff like that to get people involved. And so that's, I know I'm veering off course a little. But I don't think I sucked in the 3-way CTF tournament. But yeah, I mean, you have to, in order to get people involved, you have to, as the community leaders or as the higher skilled players, you have to take that step and reach out to them. Otherwise, they're just going to sit and idle in your Discord server, essentially. So,
no, I really I like the idea of 3-way CTF. I have to figure out a way for me to cover that event more extensively. The only reason I didn't stream the whole thing is because I had already agreed to do the open arena tournament earlier that day, and then by the time that was finished, I was like, I took a break, and then Mrs. Motherload was like, spend time with me, and then I made it for the finals. But it is a real, true life excuse. But I needed to, I need to really like kind of dive deep into like what is the best way to present this, and what, and really learn the game myself. I should play it. There's what it really comes down to. I just need to enter an event and really get a feel for how it works, and then come back with a new perspective. That's something I hate doing is casting something that I don't fully understand. Like that sucks. Like that really feels disingenuous, and I don't like to do that. But I also want to expose everything that I can, because that's an exciting new way to play Doom that people don't have an awareness of. Hopefully they will gain awareness of that through podcasts like this, or through posts on Discord. I really would like, if I can, I'm just going to be totally candid. Me and Nationwide Moose had a long conversation about how you could do so much better about promoting. And I would love to see that more. And I'll help in any way that I can, because I love everything about what's going on. People aren't aware of it because they don't know about it. Like they don't have any way to dive into that, because you post in your Discord and only the people in your Discord see it.
We disseminate in like other Doom Discords that we are in. There's a few around, but yeah, it's mostly preaching to the same audience, because it's the same people in all of those Discords.
Observing statistics, it's very depressing, and it makes me want to vomit a little bit. But most people find out about this shit through Reddit, and that's crazy. Like the podcast is like 50% people come from Reddit. I don't know why that is. I've never used Reddit other than to promote podcasts. I genuinely have never had like a really good experience in Reddit, other than people like writing back and be like, I love this podcast, or upvoting it or something like that. But in general, like Reddit is just like a kind of a cesspool. I don't want to speak poorly upon, if you're coming from Reddit and you have a differing opinion, please like let me know. But I've never enjoyed using it the same way I don't enjoy using Twitter. However, Reddit is so deeply embedded in the Google algorithm, I guess. Like people, they Google something, and Reddit is one of the first things that comes up. So if you Google multiplayer Doom, and that exists,
Quakecon brackets,
right? If you Google that, more than likely a Reddit search will pop up. Reddit is a trusted website, so people are going to click on it, and if they see like, oh, there's a new podcast out about multiplayer Doom, maybe I should check this out. I guess that's just a very typical way that people find out about this kind of stuff. So I guess just like branch out a little bit, man. Like even just posting in like every Discord that you're involved in. I have like all of them are muted, but like 36 Discords or some fucking bullshit like that I'm in. And every time I like release something, I just kind of like, I try to keep it topical. I'm not going to post like diabolical podcast or whatever the fuck in the Doom Discord, because no one there gives a shit. But I would definitely not take like a Dusk podcast and drop that into, John Romero's Discord. John Romero, if you're listening to this, you should be in your Discord. Yeah. But no, he does have a Discord server that's public. I don't know. I feel like there's so much footwork that can easily be done in 30 minutes of your time by like posting shit just every fucking where. Because even if the people in that community fucking hate you for it, like they're like, oh, why would you post that shit here? Like there's got to be at least one person who's like, oh, this is neat, I'll check that out. And if they do, then they're going to tell their friends, like, actually that post that you shit on was pretty good. And then it has to grow from there. It has to, or else my life's work is in vain.
And I try to do that. Like, I will say I have not done a great job of doing it in your Discord, which is surprising that I've been able to get some Quake players, it's been really cool, because I think cross-pollination is a cool thing. But
build up a whole Quake server the other day, an FFA server with just Z-Damon players.
Yeah, I saw that. That was Nationwide Moose. And so I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. I mean, I need help doing it, because I mean, I can post on, our Discord, Classic Doom Discord, some other Discords. I'll post it on Doom World forums. I'll post it on Zdamon. I'll post it on Xandronum, wherever. But, there will always be something that I miss. And I post it once, I post it once on the other Discords outside of ours. And then when I'm done doing that, anytime I try to, remind people, I just do it in ours. And I don't really go out of my way multiple times to post it. So you're right. I'm sure I could probably do a better job at that. I would like to find some more people, and I think we're starting to hit it on some more people that are going to help us.
Flambeau.
Yeah, Flambeau. Vertigo is running his own tournament. We're actually going to be hosting our first Oceanic tournament. So, yeah, Australia or New Zealand. I'm not sure where the servers are going to be hosted. Yeah.
He's New Zealander, so it's probably going to be based in New Zealand.
Yeah, and it's like fucking 3 a.m. Pacific time or something. I said, hey, I'll be there. It's a Saturday morning. But people like that, that's what I'm looking for. People that just, they come in, they enjoy the tournaments, and so you snag them up and you're like, you can come help us. You can be part of this. Do my dirty work for me, type stuff. But yeah, you're right. I could do a better job. Community outreach is important.
So, I'm just gonna leave like a closing thought here. I learned that I watched a documentary about my favorite band, which is the Wu-Tang Clan and Mastodon. But we're talking about the Wu-Tang Clan right now. Mastodon is we'll talk about that off the air. The greatest band, but the Wu-Tang Clan. I watched a documentary about them the other day, and the RZA did this thing that I think is going to be a great place to leave off. Okay, so if you're listening or in the room, hold out your hand. Your left or your right, it doesn't matter. And just hold out your index finger. And then imagine trying to break that. It'd be pretty fucking easy. Okay, now do the peace sign. Index finger and your flip-off finger. Okay, so that means we come in peace. But if you make a fist, and that's all your hands, all your fingers together, everyone together all at one time, that's power. And I think that's what we need to do in all of the arena community is like we need to all come together, and we would be far more powerful than we are being segmented. And that's my whole message. Like everything that I stand for in general is like this, the segmentation, the fucking idea that we have to like, oh man, I don't like that other game, or I don't like that other fucking client, or I don't like it, whatever the fuck. Let that shit go. Come together and we'll all be stronger and everyone will benefit. High tide raises all fucking ships, man. And if you don't grab onto a lifeboat and find a group of people to help you out, if you're trying to do this shit alone, you're just going to sink. And I don't want to see that happen to Doom. I don't want to see that happen to Quake. I don't want to see that happen to Dusk. Any of these games that I love, like I want these communities to band together and Cathalis Cathedral, blah, 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 blah.
When you changed your hand into a fist, I thought we were going to enter into some other strange party. But you're right. I mean, that's what I'm all about now is I was part of that very insular community for a long time, and once you get out of it, it's like Stockholm syndrome, like once you find your escape, you never want to go back. So I think we've really hit on something. And like I said at the beginning, to have these communities that are coming together, that it's not even the same fucking game. We're playing 10 different games and we all just, we get along. I mean, it's pretty cool. So I'm with you on that. I think we need to continue down that path, and I don't want to drown. So I'm going to try to find some people to help me out with that. But
you must drown because that's how you meet the drowned god. But after that, you need to swim.
Is that a quote from the Bible?
The Church of Cthulhu.
Okay.
I would just add that basically I was trying to do this unification thing somewhere around 2011 when I was basically I rose to power in IDL, and I was basically like their token euro on the IDL board, but I was also in like high standing in the demon hierarchy at that point. And I tried to, heal some of the rifts because I thought they were pretty much petty and pointless. And boy, oh boy, back then it crashed down very badly because it just wasn't the right time for healing. So
You got really mad at me.
yeah, there was, because back then it basically all of my effort of trying to reconcile things ended up with Bones being banned from the demon. So those were not good times for this unification crap, the lovey-dovey peaceful talk. And I'm really glad that now, 8 years later, when everyone thought Doom would already be dead, we actually kind of are reaching this point of singularity. And it also, like, we also see this coming together with Quake people, Quake community. And it's like, I wouldn't even imagine that last year when we were starting.
No.
Yes.
No, it's been a really good surprise. So on that note, I think we shall part. But yeah, it was a really great experience talking to you, and I'm sure we will have more of these. Probably not in person anytime soon, but it was nice to meet you. And yeah, talk to you guys later.
Only one of us was wearing pants during the course of this interview.